All right. So wait, how many years in the business do we have?
Me,
Yeah,
25.
25. Love that. You're still educating,
Have to.
right?
Why'd you go to his works?
I didn't have. The oldest.
Right. Some man.
2.5.
There we go.
100?
2.5.
Yeah.
Hey, 6.5.
Five.
5. 1.
7 to 8.
7 to 8. Billy, how many years in the business?
10?
10. Okay.
23.
All right.
That's the number we needed.
Did he beat you? No. So Nicholas, you're 25 on the dot. Congrats.
Nicholas is teaching the class now.
Cool.
No, I say to Andrew, like, I love doing these classes because it 25 years, well, even 5 years ago, it's a different marketplace than now. So for me to remain competitive,
Mm-hmm.
like, I want to know what's going on.
I like that.
But I would challenge you that Ryan's probably been running the same play for the past 10 years.
The fundamentals don't really change. Social media changes.
The way you communicate.
Right.
Right.
But like consistent actions, I mean, that's like, I don't care if it's spring market, like, we could call this spot whatever we want. Like, it's spring market, sure, it's the busiest time of the year. So arguably, I could say, this should be the most important. You should be most motivated. This is the most important time to take action, right? Like that to me might be the difference between now and the July or August when you're heading into the fall market, which is still an important time because everyone's vacationing and you're kind of like loading your pipeline up. And really that's what you should be doing right now. So I think it's good to hear like where everyone's at. Then how long you've been in the business?
10 years.
10 years. Okay. We have most people are between 5 and 10. We got 2 veterans at 23 and 25 and 1 rookie at 1 year. And I've been in the business for 10 years. Sorry. No, you're good. How long have you been in the business?
And, 2 days.
2 days.
Yeah.
Alex is
I'm hitting strong with the string.
6 years in the business. He fits in our 5 or 10 year span. I got into this 10 years ago from the corporate world and didn't know anything about real estate. Jeremy Bowers convinced me to leave my day job to do this full time and loved investing in real estate. So that's really became my niche is working with developers and investors and do it myself as well now. And inadvertently built a great team because I had too much business and needed to wanted to continue to scale and grow, but also leverage was key for me. So like I knew I wanted a family. I knew I didn't want to be, running around with buyers every evening, every weekend. So I said to myself, I was planning for that in advance, and I hired a coach. And I said, teach me how to build what you've built and give me leverage. And what skills do I need to learn to do that? Well, you got to become a listing agent, right? Because that gives you the most time freedom. The number statistics, I think, is roughly half the time for listings versus working with a buyer. So I think it's around 18, 20 hours for a seller and around 40 for a buyer on average. Sure, there's anomalies in that. So, so I started saying, okay, how do I generate listings, right? How do I become a listing agent? In the beginning, my business was 90% buyers, and each year it started to switch. And that's when I hired Alex, who was my first buyer's agent. And I said, all right, Alex, you're newer, you're hungry, I'm gonna handle the buyers, and you're gonna go work them. I'm gonna overshadow you, teach you the agreement of sale, teach you everything I know. And we continued to grow it, and now we have a team of 9 agents. We did 65 million last year for about 120 transactions. So I just So you have to, so you have some reference, because I really want to ask you guys questions. It's really hard to like give you generic information about what to do in the spring market, that may or may not apply. So maybe think of a couple questions or things that you're struggling with. We're getting into the spring market that I can answer, because I think that'll be more impactful. When I think about how to grow your business and where people struggle the most, um, it's usually not. Let me ask you a question. If people think that they know what they have to do to grow their business, do you know what you have to do to grow your business? Yeah, some people. If you've been in the business for 5 or more years, you probably know what you have to do to grow it. Am I right? Like, you've heard it. This isn't the first class you've sat in, right? You have to talk to more humans. That's the name of the game, right? Connect with more people. So what I found is it's not a matter of what, it's a matter of why you're not doing it. What's holding you back? And that's all psychological, technical, right? Like, you're like, okay, I know I should be prospecting today, but instead I'm going to service this client, or I'm going to mess around the MLS for an hour, or whatever I mean, there's a million things in this business that you can do other than talking to individuals. So, what, why do you think people or yourself, um, don't don't do the activities that will really grow their business?
Lack of consistency, so they'll do it, but they're not enough.
Not enough.
Yeah.
Why?
I mean, things takes time in this business, or like sometimes they'll like, you know, think they'll get a deal within like a week of full fund, but it takes more than just a week or something like that. I guess that's they're not being consistent enough.
Why? I agree with you. It's the name of the game is consistency. It's like, why, right? It's like, you know what to do. You know you have to be consistent, but why? How?
Maybe lack of confidence.
Lack of confidence, yeah.
And there's been the conversations they need to have when they talk about
Yep. I agree with that. Jason,
not getting results right away, to get discouraged.
result oriented, right? Yeah.
Discipline.
Discipline, yeah. Thanks.
Um, Sort of coming off as a salesperson.
As a salesperson, which is lack of confidence a little bit in my eyes. It's also how you, I guess it's confidence. It's, to me, that's like your self-image of yourself, right? Because I don't think that way. I'm not a salesperson, right? I'm an educator. I'm really good at educating. There are very few agents who know as much as I do about real estate and but that's not through. Could I approach myself as a salesperson? Sure, but I've never looked at it that way. I always said to myself, if I know enough people, which means I just got to talk to a lot of people and genuinely care and help them, typically comes back, right? Like, and then you go back to what Jason said, which is the results oriented, right? So, Ryan, how do you get so successful? I did the really boring things consistently over a really long period of time. How did you do that? Like, how did you not give up? I door knock with an accountability partner, right? Key success number one, or number two, I won't call it, is accountability partner. If you want to change anything in your life, get an accountability partner. I spend his life are doing steps every day. That's his accountability partner, right? Like, when I wanted to get serious about the gym, I hired a coach. When I wanted to get serious about real estate, I hired a coach, and that became an accountability. Whether it's monetary or someone will just show up. When I started taking these classes with KW, I did it with Abe Thompson actually, because I saw a buyer and I was like, I need someone who's going to show up as seriously as I am. because the moment that person doesn't quit, like the moment they don't show up or they make an excuse because everyone's gonna do it, that's when you need that other person who's just as motivated as you to be like, dude, I'm going there. And we did 4 days a week of door knocking for probably somewhere between 2 and 3 years straight. It was a long time ago. And Abe was a good salesperson. Abe came from the supplement industry. So he was older and he had more experience than me. So I had every reason to quit because I wasn't seeing the results. But I guess I had listened to enough people say it that I knew that the result would come. So if you could have like blind faith or just trust what I'm telling you right now. Literally, if you do something for at least a year in this business, it's like 1 to 2 years you have to like consistently do. Like that's the honest truth. And some people will get success sooner than others, because of their background, because of their natural skill set. I had no sales experience, very little, say. I wasn't that good. I didn't know what questions to ask. I really didn't know how to help people. So I had to figure out through trial and error, like, how do I help these people? Like, what do they need? When I'm at the door, like, what can I help them with? And it might not always be a sale, right? Sometimes it was like, I need a roofer, I need a plumber. Sometimes it had nothing to do with real estate. If I like helped enough people, then what started happening is a year or two later, even if I didn't follow up with those people as best as I should have, I started getting calls. So, how do you rank your business up in the spring market? You get an accountability partner that's as serious as you are. And then that's a numbers game. Then I said, my goal at the time, which is aggressive, was talk to 20 new people a day. So it's 100 a week. And I had tallies in the notebook I could probably find and show you. I was not excited about it, unfortunately, but I was looking at tallies, and I was like, I just thought door knocking was the fastest way to get conversations, because I knew that was the name of the game. And I was still hitting my center of influence, but you'll deplete that pretty quickly, and then you still need conversation. So I said, I'm gonna go out and I tried FISBOs, I tried expires, and what I found was I could get a FISBO or two a year, but that was like a really high skill set, super competitive. And I was like, it's something big. Like, could I maybe hone that skill in? Yes. But my personal skill set was in person. If I could talk to people in person, I could really connect with them, they would remember me. And to this day, 5 or 10 years later, I'm still getting calls from that, right? And that's just because I talk to enough humans. So why is your business not growing in the spring, right? You're not talking to enough people right now.
Can I interject with a little bit about Ryan here?
Yeah.
When I saw Ryan, watched him as he evolved, he had this gigantic board that he would come in, it was, I guess, a vision board every day. He would set up right there. It was a call board. It was a call board, okay.
That's true on it.
But it was huge.
Yeah.
And he set it up he didn't have that, he just had the platform. And he would come in every day and go do it every day. Very consistent.
That's it.
Yeah.
What would I do? I would do the things you guys don't want to do. I would role play once or twice a day for 30 minutes. And how did you keep doing it, Ryan? Well, I had a call with someone in California on Tuesdays, and they were my accountability partner. If I didn't show up, they would be hitting me up and be like, "Where are you?" Right? I kept a calendar. That should be like the bare minimum. Anyone that's not using Google Calendar, that's your and I put accountability partners in place for things I probably didn't really, if left to my own, I probably wouldn't have done as many times. So I did role play every morning, and then I knew how many contacts I needed to make. And my coach was like, you got to make 20 contacts a day. And I was like, holy shit, that's a lot of contacts. But like, what else did I have to do? Like, if you don't have anything else to do, right, then like all these are conversations with people. And the good news is there's 1.6 million people in Philadelphia. So you have tons of people to talk to. There's plenty of business going around. You just have to figure out who are the people that you connect with on your level, and you'll find those people. And the reason I was able to also leverage my business is because I did that consistently for enough years. Then they knew how hard I worked with them, and then my business turned less door knocking to more referral. And that's not something that you can just make it happen overnight, right? Like that's referral business is consistency, and it's being confident about what you do, and really like doing the necessary homework. And if you don't have that, then you got to be showing up to these education classes. You got to be asking questions and learning about it. And I taught architects, and I spoke with engineers, and I just figured out what can I build in Philadelphia, and how do I build it? What's the zoning? Like that was my niche. So I can't tell you what your niche is, but my niche was I like creating things. So I'm going to figure out how to build in Philadelphia, what I can build with certain zoning, with RM1 zoning, RMC 5, CMX1 to 2.53, right? Like, and you kind of have to have a base knowledge to really be an expert in wherever you're farming. So you guys said, so I said accountability was one way, and then having more conversations. What else is holding you back? Like, what's what's stopping you from doubling your business in the spring?
So I don't know, when you mean doubling, you mean full transactions or, um, getting more people to agree to work?
Close transactions.
Okay, for me, I noticed my needs need a lot of fresh repairs, and they're learning how to save. And that's stuff like being consistent, like they'll get to a point and then I'll get a call, hey, Missy, I messed up again. Only use my credit card, and then point stuff so then they can't put the rent and you need it. Or something came up, and it's not always something that like was important, is important to them. Like I had a client, just a mother and daughter, they ended up buying separately, and the daughter told on herself like, well, we were this close to being able to, go out. We took her savings and went on a cousin's trip to Jamaica. So she told one of her friends, she was like, well, I'm frustrated with life, so I like to treat myself and I get frustrated and stuff. So I said, okay, nothing's wrong with that, but you spent your entire savings, so you had to take the trip, it was a week trip to the resort.
No, I get what you're saying, not to cut you off, but who's your ideal client?
Low income.
That's your ideal client?
That's,
Low income?
yeah, they gravitated. So she wasn't low income, yeah. So her mom wanted her.
Is that your ideal client? Or would you rather work with $1 million clients or $5,000 clients or
First-time home buyer.
first-time home buyers or sellers who are
What I started noticing is those clients, it wasn't working out. What ended up happening was I started having more connections with people that were low income. So that's kind of how that happened. Like every time I would work with someone past at like the $200,000 and up, it went beyond stuff.
who went,
Like the deal would go beyond stuff. So I just started working heavily with the group that I wasn't having that many results before COVID, and then I started having coding issues as well. So it's they're a demographic that they just weren't educated on how to buy. They have the money, it's teaching them how to work with
you
the,
still haven't answered my question. Who's your ideal client? See, you don't know. The fact that you're taking this long just tells me that you don't know. So you got to figure out who's your ideal client, right? Jason's ideal client he just bought a duplex in Graduate Hospital. Jason, who's your ideal client?
I want 2 million plus grad hospital buyers, 4 sellers.
There you go.
This is higher, sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, no, no.
I mean, we're talking, yeah, so Jason was working with a lot of this, was targeting cold calls, sellers in the firms. And
Yeah, I can do it.
go ahead.
If you don't mind.
No, I don't know.
Jason came to Stawash Group, and what we do is exactly what Ryan's telling you right now. What's your ideal client? So Jason came as an $8 million agent, right? And he's like, I'm at 8 million. How do I get to, the question first is, where do you want to be, right? And he said, I want to be, a $16 million agent, or, or more. And it's like, okay, so first we broke down the business in where are you doing business? So the first thing that we did is we took his business, put it on a bright MLS map for the last 365 days, and looked at where he's doing business. His business was inefficient business. He's doing inefficient business, which means you don't have a centralized location or prospecting activity that creates consistency of knowledge in a specific area.
Mhm.
And so what that means is you can't be an expert in every area in the city.
Yeah, so pause. Whose business is whose business where 75% of it is in like 3 zip codes? At one out of 30?
Like 75% of your business comes from only 3 zip codes, and those 3 zip codes are geographically
Next to each other. More than 3? Yeah.
Majority of
So you might be close. You might be, where's your business?
So mostly, a lot of it is centralized in West Philly, and then sometimes it'll take me other places, like sometimes down here, but pretty much adjacent to West Philly, and then sometimes people take it, like referral is picking up.
Sure. And you decide if you want to work with them or if you want to, refer them. And the point here is, like you're saying, like, figure out who your ideal client is, and then go farm that area. I made this mistake early on. I was all over the fucking city. And I didn't get really good at one area, right? So, let's continue. I just want to make that point where it's like,
I almost want to bring it back. I don't want to just talk about what we do and talk about success. So then it shows like that this is a universal truth.
yeah,
This is not just within Salem Group. So you have a business in West Philly, right? If your business in West Philly, that means your prospect activities. Right.
Yeah, my spirit is home.
Your sphere of influence, for what else are you doing for prospecting?
So I've done different things over the course of
Mhm.
time. So there's been geographic farming at certain points,
Mhm.
and I've strayed away from it. But then, video, but I'm also pretty engaged in the community.
Mhm.
So I'm on, community organization, making sure I'm present, making sure, and then over time,
You're seen. Right?
yes,
Make sure you're
that's
seen.
visible, highly visible in my.
that's the key.
Yeah. That's what I wanted to
Farm where you live, right? Like, sounds so simple, but I can't tell you how many agents do not farm where they live. And they're like taking clients out, like in Bumble. I mean, listen, when you're early on, like, take it where you can get it, or if it's a referral. I'm just talking about the prospect activity that you can control, right?
Mhm.
So that I would keep that separate from that. The price point makes sense for you, and maybe it's farther away, fine. So I think there's exceptions, but like the prospect activity that you can control, which is usually where growing your business or doubling your business starts, right? It's not necessarily, you can't, to a certain extent, you can and can't control the referrals, right? There's certain things I can do to generate referrals, but I don't exactly know when they're coming and the timing of them. So that's difficult. So things you can control. You're saying be present in your community. So to me, that's like get involved in like sports leagues, religious organizations, what else? Gardens.
So it could be involved like park associations, business associations, like there's political organizations in your neighborhood that are probably acting in, involved in all those things. So, I'm on the Superintendent Board, the Curator Board, the Faulkner Avenue Business Association Board.
There you go.
All the things. And then I supplement with some paid marketing, like, some billboard,
Yeah.
shopping carts. It depends. They're not always, they're always moving, but not simultaneously.
Let me just make a connection that people might not see in this. People might say, well, I'm really busy. I get stuff going at home. I want to focus on real estate. I don't want to do all these extra activities. These extra activities added to base is being educated in the community in which you work. So now he is a market expert beyond real estate in the community in which people are going to live. When people buy a home, are they buying a home because the bathroom fixtures? Are they buying a home because they want to go out to eat somewhere nearby on Friday night? They want the school system that's the catchment that this home's in. They want they want a certain lifestyle associated with this home. They want distance, their commute time to be under 20 minutes on public transportation, under 10 minutes, by car. The accessibility of parking, right? All of these things are, after you live in a home, what are the community organizations? Is my street going to be clean on trash pickup day? What is the crime in this neighborhood? All of those things are going to be, and obviously we can't specifically speak on crime, but if you don't know those things for that neighborhood, which you can't possibly know in every neighborhood because you don't have enough time in the day, then you can't add the value to the clientele you're trying to serve. So if you go put me in West Philly against you, I'm not going to be able to have any of that inside information. And so when it comes down to my quality of life I have on that home, I'm not the right person.
The Facebook groups, too.
Mm-hmm.
There's always like little community groups, in every neighborhood. If you're chiming in and get like delivering value on those groups, you're not just like from the realtor.
Yeah, I'm a realtor.
Not gonna work.
So that comes from a standpoint of what Ryan said too, and who said this out loud was, I help, right? It's not sales, it's helping. So help first, the only way you can help people, if you're a teacher, the only way you can help somebody is to be educated beyond where they are. It's the only way, right? A teacher knows more than the student, and the student then gives that education down to the student. Or sorry, the teacher knows more than the student, and the teacher gives that education down to the student. Our responsibility is to be an educator on the full process of home buying, and also it as a fit for your lifestyle, but also as a fit for an investment. This is the largest asset in our portfolio. So
become an expert. If you say to yourself, well, I'm not an expert yet, I'm going to become an expert, right?
Understand product.
Yeah. So I would say then you need to either hire a coach, you need to shadow a builder if you want to learn about the product that you're selling, right? Like, don't walk into a construction site, give the number on the permit, and be like, hey, I'm not looking for anything else, but I would love to watch the build process. Do you mind if I come in from time to time and talk to some guys on site? Right? Like, learn what it takes to build a home from start to finish, because that is the project that we're talking about. And Vince, you said salesperson, right? It's like, well, how do I not become a salesperson? Well, I become a product expert. Like Alex and I, and probably a couple more of you in this room, like we could basically GC a house from start to finish because we know that much about the building process. When I have that type of knowledge, now it's not, now I'm leading the client. Oh, that leak right there that we see, that could come from A, B, or C. None of those really concern me because I got guys that can fix it. Now all of a sudden, my client's like, oh, okay. Now it might go from, well, I'm not gonna buy this house to, I'm telling you, we'll get a quote. It's usually just a money issue, right? Like, what's it cost to fix this? But also, hey, I see some bulging brick, or I see some really unlevel joists. Like, we gotta stay away from these ones unless you're willing to fix the front facade, which is gonna cost you 25 grand on a 3-story home, right? Like, so there's a couple, like things that we have going on here. One, and it depends on where you fall, right? Where do you need more? Do you need more product knowledge. You need more consistency, which then I would say, look around in this room, introduce yourself to somebody, and be like, do you want to be accountability partners? Do you really want to like change our lives and be accountability partners and make the money that we want to make and help the people we want to help? Then, and that's all I did. I sat next to Abe in a room, and I noticed he was hungry, and I was like, I'm hungry too, dude. Like, let's go get it. And we do it up for 2 or 3 years straight. So find an accountability partner and then be targeted about it, right? There's one shiny objects in this business. Um, I'll just name like 10 different things that you can do to farm your neighborhood. Do not try to implement those 10 things, right? Like, if you've been in this business for 5 or 10, how about you implement one of those? Just do one for now, see how it goes. And the beautiful thing about this business that I like is like you get to kind of pick what you like to do. So if you like politics, you can do politics. If you like gardening, you can join a community gardening. If you're religious, you could join a church, a mosque, a synagogue, whatever. Like you can like pick what your interests are and talk to people who also have those interests. Like I get business at the gym. I like going to the gym and I talk to people in the sauna and I get weeds from the sauna. But like I'm doing what I like to do. I like to talk to people. I like to talk about real estate. This does not work for me anymore, right? Like this is just what I'm passionate about. So don't try to like, oh, I am doorknob, so I gotta go doorknob. No, if you like to doorknob, you know, to talk to people, then yes, go doorknob, please. So, but if you don't, then you have to figure out how do I get enough, I have enough conversations throughout the week through these different avenues. And the tricky part is like, joining one community group is probably not going to be enough conversations, right? To really like jump your business. So in a way, you do have to be willing to either do open houses or door or cold call or circle prospect or write letters or mailers. Like there's a lot of different things that you can do, but go do it consistently. That's that's what we're saying. And I don't know if there's anything else you want to add about funding, Alex, but I think like to do it at the highest level, you strategically do it in an area that you probably live because you're gonna pass those people and walk by them all the time. Like I lived on Hancock Street in Old Kensington for 5 years, and I probably had no short of like 10 listings in those areas because I talk to people at the park. Like what a perfect example. I love taking my kids to the park. I take my kids to the park every day. I can't tell you how many people I meet, and we have like 1 or 2 conversations, and they're like, "Listen, you're thinking about moving. Do you want to sell it?" I get to do it all. I got 2 months in there.
All you really have to do is be the person making stuff first. Like, you can have very little knowledge, very little experience, but if somebody asks their friend, who I'm thinking of buying a house, who should I talk to? If you're like that person, you get a great shot. And so it's really just about how do I get in front of enough people to make them think of me like first? Because they might not even know of any realtor whatsoever. And you could be on that stage.
Which comes from talking to enough people.
Yep.
That can't happen unless you open your mouth and talk to enough people. And unfortunately, if you don't to talk to a lot of people, you might be in the wrong business because you have to conversate with people. And what I'm really good at is learning about people and asking more questions than I can. That's what I do. That's the point. I just ask questions. Like you would be shocked by how many quiet people just start, asking them questions about themselves, and next thing they know, like they're telling me everything about their life. But for the last 10 times I've seen them at the park, they haven't conversated with one other parent, right? So you just have to be like naturally curious. Like, what do you like to do? Where did you live before you moved to Philadelphia? How did you get here? And these questions, they can be learned, right? If you're like, I don't know what questions to ask. Well, I think the acronym is FOR, right? Family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. That is the easiest space model of what questions to ask somebody.
Forward.
Family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. FORD is the acronym. So anytime you're like, shit, what am I gonna ask this person? Family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. Everyone, so that's like family, right? Like, are you married? Do you have kids? Where'd you grow up? Occupation. Where do you work? Like, how long have you been there? Where'd you go to school? Like, these are recreation. What do you love? Do you have any vacations coming up? It's freezing out. Do you want to go to Florida? Or you going to Mexico, right? Like, people love talking about themselves. Just get them talking about themselves, and naturally they're going to be like, Ryan, what do you do? You just asked me 10 questions about myself. Like, what do you do? Oh, it's funny you should ask. I help people buy and sell real estate. I'm really passionate about it. So if there's ever anything I can do, like, just let me know.
How do you start the conversation? Like, I'm like shy, like I'm introvert.
Yeah.
So like, sometimes I have a hard time starting a conversation. So
Hey, where do you like to hang out? What people are you talking to, right? Like, who are we talking about?
for years, like when I have free time, I'll go to the gym, like the boxing gym or like the weightlifting gym.
Yeah.
That's kind of like the bar.
Oh,
Can I tell you that the bar is not, but I picked up on a Latin bar.
Yeah.
I probably agree, right? I picked up.
You don't have to be great.
From the bar.
You can literally go to a bar and get water and lemon and probably sit there and find it.
I sit there and drink and find this. Or lemon crap, but yeah.
So, let's share this, and I think I've shared this with a lot of these. Our first from back one, my parents from Brooklyn. Right, so right in Brooklyn area, every house around it was $40,000, $50,000. That's where I chose not to sell, because that's not what I wanted. When I first moved back, that's all I did. The next year, got a coach up with next year. And, my business over there ended up being in the fish town, so and, in Mary. I went to the bar. 3 or 4 days a week, 4 hours a day,
No way.
to watch football. I sat in the middle of the bar every single week. And I just spoke to everybody about sports. Hey, I'll be back here next Friday. I'll be back here next Saturday. I'm fine for the drink. And that's how I built my business.
Look at that.
Florida area, I learned all the good bar spots. I learned the best places for food. And I learned everything that happened over there. So excited to love the spot. They used to do first Fridays. I was door knocked last week of every month and say, hey, Brian, the weekend, if one of remind you, first Friday is coming up on Friday. Here's who the partner with. If you're one of the first 20 people over there, I'll get you a drink. And that was it, but it was being active. So it's exactly what they're saying. You just got to in the area. Let people see you, let people know who you are, let people know what you do.
You were having conversations. You were providing value to the alcoholics. They come to the bar, telling them where the next special is. You had something that they wanted or saw value in, right? And you had fun. You watched the game together. Like that. What a perfect example of like do what you love. You love to box, right? And go to the gym and the bar. You just sort of went. So what do you have people at the bar? Who are you rooting for? They're there watching sports, right? Who are you rooting for? Have you been here before? Like, what do you recommend on the menu? Right? Like you could think of a million things to ask. Same with the boxing gym. Dude, and I know nothing about boxing, but like I saw that right hook. Like, where did you learn how to do that? Like I just and you could be like, I'm trying to get better, like I lift, right? So it's like, dude, I saw you putting on 300 on bench press 10 times. Like, what do you recommend for someone that wants to increase their bench? Like, how did you get to that point, right? Like, just natural conversation. It doesn't even have to, like, they clearly like to lift or to box. And then it's like, and maybe maybe that's it. And then next week when you see the same guy, then you're like, then you throw in there, you see him in the sauna, you're like, how long have you been coming here? Right? Like, how did you find this place? Like, you just natural conversation. Where do you live? Right? Like, so think about it. Give it a little bit of thought. Like, if someone came up to you, what would be that, right? And you'll think of something.
I was gonna say, especially
Yeah.
in the gym, it's like once you talk to somebody, now it's the head nod.
Yeah.
Every time you like to each other, and then like you're in the same time, then you say, I'm gonna sorry, now we're getting into the conversation.
Exactly.
Why did it break through the now you guys know each other.
Yeah.
In the gym, I know the name.
Hey man, you need a spot? I'm here if you need it. Yeah, like what a great.
And then you'll see him at the bar, and you guys are best friends because you guys both box and you go to the same gym. They've never talked to you, you guys are boys.
That's it.
I think you gotta be good at the humble brag about what you do, where it doesn't seem like you're trying to put it in there, but you gotta mention that. So we don't see sometimes where that's a little art. Yeah, that is, but, you know.
Definitely. I mean, I play this game to see how quickly I can get them to ask me what I do without telling them. Play that game, right? Which means you're asking them really good questions to the point where they're like, I got this guy something. Like, he's literally, I'm not totally doing it. It's kind of a natural flow. So, how do you post a spring market, right? You got an accountability partner. You have more conversations than what you're having now. You have to know like how many conversations you're having a week. Because if you're telling me your business is at 10 million a year and you're having, let's say, 5 conversations a day for 5 days a week, that's 25 conversations a week. How do you increase your business? You have more than 25 conversations a week, break it down by a day, and that's your daily goal. And if you can't do that goal on your own, then you need the accountability partner to do it, right? So I feel like most people don't join enough like groups of like things that they like to do. So I feel like that's an easy one for you to add on to. Like I used to be in like basketball leagues, softball leagues. I really like playing sports and I was competitive. So I started it like if you did a new league every 2 to 3 months, you would meet 10 new people every 2 to 3 months, and you could decide whether you want to do it with them again or just join another one and meet 10 more new people. And if you did 2 or 3 of those leagues, all of a sudden, like if you don't get a deal from one of those leagues, then come to me because I talk. But that's an easy way to do something that you enjoy, right? Like don't make this difficult. So. We've got 17 more minutes. What questions can I answer? Or collectively the group because we have a lot of really good people.
Your door knocking strategy was?
My door knocking strategy was have as many conversations as possible.
You were knocking around open houses or what?
Listening sometimes. I made the mistake of doing open houses wherever I could get them, which was all over the city. And that was a mistake, right? I learned the hard way because I wasn't getting really good at one area versus if you can get open houses in like, I only do like Fishtown and Old Kensington, a little bit of Northern Liberties. So I did that right, and then I was door knocking one area, but I wasn't doing all my open houses in those areas. So my efforts, my snowball, probably could have grown faster. So I think like what I said specifically, it changed. Sometimes it was the script of like I have buyers looking in the area. And do you know of anyone that's thinking about selling? I would never ask them if they wanted to sell. I'd be like, do you know anyone? And sometimes people would be like, yeah, my neighbor across the street moving. Like you should go talk to them. You'd be surprised. Other times it was like, no, I don't know anyone. And then I'd be like, awesome. Well, listen, I live over on Hancock Street, and this is the beauty of farming where you live. Just wanted to introduce myself. If there's ever anything you need, let me know. Look forward to seeing you in the neighborhood. Done. Next time I see him, or maybe the next round of door knocking, then I'll ask some deeper questions. Or right then and there, if I felt like they wanted to talk, I might be like, how long have you been here? How did you pick this street? How did you pick this house? Right? Like start digging into.
Talk about consistency in door knocking, and you have a story about somebody that you door knocked like 8 times before they were like, I've been told this story before, so I don't know if you remember it, but.
Do I remember that one? 8 times.
you were like, basically you would door knock somebody and they'd always open the door and be like, no, like, and just shut the door in your face. And eventually like 5 or 6 times you would door knock. Because instead of saying, no, I'm not going to door knock it, you just kept doing the route.
Yeah.
The person opened the door and was like, oh, dude, like at this point I got to talk to you. And ended up talking to him and ended up doing business.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And that happened multiple times. About 60 days ago. I joined someone in the hospital 5 years ago, and she called me. She my phone, and she called me, and I did not follow up with her. I had her number in my phone. Shame on me, right? Still, like that's the crazy part. Is because I was talking to so many people, I made some impressions on people that every now and then you start getting those calls, and that's where it really does become a numbers game. But yeah, the name of the game is consistency, and the only way I did that was accountability partner. So, going back to your question, what did I say? I said I have buyers in the area. I said I'm doing an open house around the corner, or I'm giving them a market update. Those were like the 3 scripts that I used was, hey, like I'm a local agent in the area. Just wanted to let you know your neighbor sold over at 123 Main Street. It sold for 520,000, 4-bed, 3-bed. Just keeping everyone educated on the area. Like, if there's anything else I can do to help you, let me know. Something along those lines. So yeah, does that answer your question, Andrew?
Yeah.
Cool.
And you go collateral.
I started off bringing it. I don't necessarily recommend flyers per se because sometimes people would see them in my hand and they would automatically assume something. Yeah. So then I started saying to myself, well, like, why would I carry a business card if I have a digital business card? So then I would say to them, yeah, I do have, I do have a card. What's your number? I'll send it to you. So I'd be like, or some people would be like, what's your email? And I'd be like, they'd be like, can I give you my email? I don't phone number. They'd be like, can I give you my email? And I give them the email, and I'd be like, and what's your phone number? Like, and then they just start, like, once they start telling me, they just start saying it. Like, they just, listen, I'm not going to bother you. I'm going to text you my contact card. If you need anything, let me know. I look forward to seeing you in the neighborhood. That's it. I'm not like trying to sell you anything. I'm trying to figure out if you have a question related to real estate, you have someone that you could ask. What a great qualifying question, right? Like that that question I didn't know early on, and I probably could have saved myself a lot of time with people whose brother or mother was a realtor and they didn't have the balls to tell me, right? But you ask them, like, hey, I'm ingrained in this neighborhood, I care about the community, I'm looking for people that if you had a question related to real estate, you have someone you would ask. And then you just shut up. Maybe they're gonna say yes, no, kind of. Doesn't sound like you have that close of a relationship. Would you mind if I texted you my number? And that way, if you need anything, like you can give me a check. Perfect. What other questions?
Going back to Jason, so new profile, right? For listings.
Yeah.
So like Alex mentioned that you started as an $8 million agent and you want to be 60 million. So are you only calling listings that are like
So I've very recently changed strategies a little bit, but like the last 8, 9 years I was cold calling. And I'd say like the most recent 5, I was only calling like neighborhoods that were like 800K plus. And it worked pretty well. Like the leads I was getting were, higher price point leads. The conversion was probably a little bit harder because those people either did you had a real estate connection or just were a little bit more standoffish on the phone sometimes. I don't know if there's like a psychology behind that, but yeah, I was more focused on higher price points.
What was the average time it took you to close one of those leads though? I think this was the big one.
This is the big
With them.
3 to 5 years probably.
oh
Yeah.
consistency.
So calling, like I was doing just listed, just sold, like struggle prospecting. So like no inclination that any of these people are going to sell, like literally just phone door knocking basically. So not expires or anything. So expires I imagine are quicker, but yeah, I closed a couple or maybe one or two last year that I met in the 20 teens, like 2017, 2019, just sold. So there was a bunch of a lot of follow up, like monthly follow up for
Weekly, but
sometimes yearly, yeah.
for years. And I would say door knocking in general takes that much time. Like I don't want to fool you to say one is quicker than another. Like I think open houses is probably like the quickest, speed to lead is because like you're not walking into very few people walk into open houses unless they have some type of motivation, right? On occasion you'll get the nosy neighbor, right? They might be thinking about selling and they're just not going to tell you. So the beautiful part about open houses is like I can get seller and buyer leads out of those. And I did it all. I threw a lot of shit at the wall and trying to figure out like what was gonna stick and like what worked for me and what I liked. But I knew I like talking to people in person. Which is like something like doing again open houses. And I consistently did client events. So it's like once you get these people in your pipeline, like do not lose them. Like that is the goal. The reason I can do what I can do is because of that.
I also think door knocking, like over cold calling, you'll get like those odd people that will call him based on like the memory of the door knock. Like that really never happened with cold calling. Like if you don't follow up with them, they're gonna forget you like 10 minutes later. And
That's a good point.
like that's never happened to me. No one that cold call has ever like out of the blue called me back. I have to like build a relationship over 10, 20 calls.
give them the opposite end of that, where it's even if you put in 4 years of work, what was one that just happened to you?
They do sometimes.
You just had one of those, right?
Yeah.
Do you tell that where
It was, there's been a couple, like, it's not like a super rare thing, unfortunately,
you
but
miss them by like a month, right?
yeah, like every so often, like I'll go through my follow up and like, I call him 6 months and then I see that he's like been on the market for 2 or 3 months already. And I go back to follow up and never said he had a relationship with an agent or like something, get introduced to someone at any time in between your follow ups. And you're just like a voice on the phone. So it's not like you have like the in-person conversation memory in their hand.
Yeah. Back to Ryan. I'm gonna connect that one back to Ryan. So Ryan in the beginning was talking about consistency and he was saying, what is holding you guys back? And Ryan did not say a word that he loves to say, which is, they're afraid of the result or attached to the result. So fear is what gets people to stop doing what they need to do, right? You're afraid that either if you go into that open house or you knock that door, that person will say no. And you have to understand that the action is completely independent of the result, right? If Jason got that call and that person said no to them, oh, I just need somebody else, and Jason took that personally, and then he's fearful of calling other people, then the opportunity is not there. So the actions are completely independent. If you wanted to say, how do you start the spring market? And Ryan would tell you this right away. He'd say, do the actions now, independent of the result. If you're worried about doubling your business this spring market, you're already doing it wrong. Double your actions right now, and it will double your business in the future.
Yeah, because it's human nature to want to get better at what you're doing. So even if you're having shitty conversations, you're gonna be like, damn, Jason's gonna go on better. But the beauty is like the next door is right there. So now you can figure out how to say it better next time. So then I would like go home and be like, how could I phrase that better? Like that wasn't perfect. But I knew deep down, like I never had any ill will. I had very honest actions. I just wanted to try to help. That was the place I was coming from, right? I'm not trying to sell anyone something that they don't need. That is not my goal. Like, let me be very clear. If you don't need my help, that's okay. Or if you think somebody else is better at it than I am, then that's okay too. There might be, right? Like there might, like I'm in Rittenhouse condos. Like I'm going up against him, he's gonna kick my ass. Like 29 times out of 10 because I don't know the high-end condo market. That's not my niche. My niche is really like new construction, and then the place I was farming, which was Fishtown. And I think that like also bring this full circle because what happens, a lot of people are trying too many things and they're not focusing on one area. Jason was calling areas in the suburbs. He was living in the city. It's like, what happens when he's living in Graduate Hospital? He starts calling Graduate Hospital. He starts doing in Graduate Hospital. He starts doing open houses in Graduate Hospital. Like, what naturally is going to happen? Yeah, like, where does his business go? Like, does that seller now actually call Jason because he saw his sign on an open house? He saw his listing sign that he's been staring at now for the past like 60 days, right? So I'm telling you guys this because I failed to do this. If you really want to like do it the right way, then like pick a neighbor. If you're in the suburbs, pick a couple neighborhoods. Or if you're in the city, pick a zip code or two. I mean, 19146 is pretty fucking big from Graduate Hospital down to Point Breeze. So I don't know that you need one much bigger than that. There will be times where maybe you can't find open houses and you gotta go across the street. Not the worst scenario, right? Or maybe you gotta go a little bit further south into Point Breeze than you want to. But a key takeaway is like go do all your actions, all your prospecting, all your groups that you want to be involved in. Go do them in the place that you're farming and do it consistently, and your business has to grow. It's almost impossible for it not to.
What, program we got using for a cold call?
He was using Redx.
Yeah.
I think I also used Redx when I was calling Pistos and expired, which was a while ago.
Another thing that I want to mention about cold calling is like, so I lived in the city for the last 9 years, always cold called the suburbs because my logic was I wasn't sure if I was going to move back to the suburbs and I wanted like business established out there for if I moved back in like 5 to 7 years. I think that was also a mistake because Ryan's strategy, what he's talking about is if you're like calling, farming, you live, open houses all in the same area, that's going to be a lot quicker of like a turnaround time for leads versus like I'm calling people in Blue Belt, Pennsylvania. Like if I call one person and they're like 3 years out from selling, I have like no hope of any other like tangential business from that person except for when they finally decide to pull the trigger and like I follow up them for months and months and months versus like never call me. Yeah. That is not the business. So like
But I have a comment on the door knocking because I've never, ever done door knocking, but I do a different version of door knocking is because I have a dog. So I walk the dog in the neighborhood like 3, 4 times a day.
I love that.
And it's, so I started talking, I didn't know anyone. I started talking to all the dog people. Hey, what kind of dog do you have? You know, blah, blah, blah. Oh, how old's your dog? You live here? Yeah. Oh, I just moved here. Oh, you did? Yeah. I bought a house over here. I'm an agent. We downsized. Sold my 3 cats. I came to a town here. Oh, okay. So then, like you were saying, consistency. I mean, that wasn't the first conversation. It was more about the dog. Then it was, oh, you sell real estate? Yeah. Do you do investment properties? I'm a flipper. So, oh, how do you do that? Oh, do you ever find flips for other people? Sure. Like you're saying, it just opens a conversation, but I never actually knocked on the door. And then the other thing, like, you know, how people walk in groups, they don't have a dog, but they're walking for exercise. And my dog goes to everyone for attention. And then they're like, oh, what's your dog's name? I'm like, Henry. Oh, could you please have him? He doesn't get any attention now. Oh, he's so cute. He's so cute. You ladies live here?
There you go.
So.
We've joked with Jason, like, Jay, you gotta go get a dog because if you go, like, dude, that is gold. That is making line.
There's the dog and that dog farms that then you divide something, you know?
Yeah.
It's not just all.
And I didn't know it until I had kids, but like playgrounds, oh, it's like fishing with dynamite. Like you literally cannot. Like it's so. I'm like, this is crazy. I get to.
Sharika Mac and I did starting 3 months ago. I went there on a Thursday and we cleaned up our neighborhood.
So we walked around with the bags, with the rates. And
Yeah.
eventually neighbors just came up, they asked questions, and then
Oh, there you go.
we started building conversations with all the neighbors, and we were out there every single Thursday, so it became a thing, you know, it's great. But that's a way to give back to the neighborhood, and just like, hey, I'm here to serve, this is where I live, and it just, the conversation broke from there.
I love that. And we would, one more idea, right? We throw a neighborhood block party. And what do you think we do? Most of the time, inside. So from most of the time, we want the neighbors and we tell them that we're having a block party, which is another great touch point where you're not asking for anything. You're just saying, hey, we're throwing a block party on this date. Here's a flyer, or I'll leave that. Then I would, leave something in the door. And shit, you could start door knocking 2 months in advance, invite your entire neighborhood, and you're throwing a block party. It's on you. All you got to do is show up. Like there's so many great things like picking up trash, volunteering in a neighborhood, dogs. Like just don't get involved. The thing you're saying is don't get involved in your community. That is one, spinning plate, and it's not enough to catapult your business or double it, but over time, like I don't know that there's anything that you could really do better other than that. That would be like the ultimate farming.
Also rooted in service, it's rooted in health, which is where your business should be rooted in. Like you're approaching this as a salesperson, you're going to town. Yeah, you're going to town. You cannot force somebody to buy and sell a wellness asset that they hold, right? It's their decision. You're just trying to help them with that journey.
Cool. Well, thank you guys.